Welcome to the Tradies in Business podcast with your hosts Warwick Bidwell and Nicole Cox. Divert your phone and grab a brew as Waz and Nick unpack tips, tales, secrets and stuff-ups from guests both inside and outside your trade, helping educate and inspire you to break the cycle of gut-busting and money stress and create a true trade business.
G'day, Coxie.
G'day, Warwick. How are you?
I'm always good when I hear the way you say g'day. G'day, Warwick. It's like you're always so happy to see. Well, you don't see me.
I don't
Actually,
see
you're
you
probably
anymore.
happy. You're happy because you don't see me.
No, I much prefer looking at your face.
It was weird moving down here because of that.
Well, it was a big thing for me for a long time, wasn't it? I really struggled with the concept of the way you and I could dip in and out of a conversation because we don't edit. And if we don't quite get it right, sometimes it looks and feels a bit messy, but we seem to have fallen into a rhythm okay.
Fancy that. No, it was one of the things we considered with my emigration to Tasmania.
That's a really big way to put moving states.
Well, it's funny because my 8.5-year-old daughter actually she says that Tasmania is the best country to live in.
Oh, that's cute.
And she refers back to when she used to live in Australia on the mainland.
That's really cute.
And you know what? It kind of feels like that down here.
Yeah, I can imagine it must.
It's sometimes it's like living in another country, even though we have all the same stuff. We still have Bunnings.
Yeah, but that's like going to New Zealand. They still have a lot of the same stuff. Might be, it's Countdown instead of Woolworths, but it's the same logo. It all looks the same. But you're very much in a different country.
I think it's even a little more weird because everything is so similar and yet it is actually quite different. So there's that interesting paradox.
Very interesting.
Now, speaking of paradoxes, Coxie.
I was wondering how you're going to do this. Chuck Norris.
Today's real tradie story is from a tradie. We have a chat to a painter. But the paradox there is that this painter actually is, well, partly university educated.
Yes.
Was a fairly high level, although he's a bit cagey about it, a fairly high level freestyle BMX competitor.
Yes.
And he's not really a painter so much as a painting business owner.
There's a real distinction, isn't there? And we do talk about that today.
So I liked some of those interesting challenges to accepted norms. I was going to use the word paradigm, but I thought that was a bit too wanky. So, but now I've used it anyway. So not only did I confuse everybody, but I also sounded like a wanker.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's only Tuesday.
Yeah, see, this is why I had to move to another country. But I've been wanting to get Mr. Mitch Kelly on the podcast for some time now because he's been part of our community for a number of years.
He has.
Here at Tradies in Business. And he's gone through a bit of a journey, and you and I both know his story pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably one of our top fans, I would have to say. There you go. He's going to get a big head now. But he's very involved in our community. He likes to help. I see some of his comments in response to people's questions in our community, in both the free group and the paid groups that he's part of. And often he does our job for us because his responses are very articulate and intelligent. And I think, oh, well, I don't need to add anything to that. Thanks, Mitch.
He's very generous with his knowledge, actually. He does not mind sharing what he knows at all, which is fantastic. And one of my most favourite parts of our communities is that people are so generous with their knowledge. We do talk about that today too, don't we?
Yeah, we cover some good ground today, including how to backflip a BMX bike.
Do you remember the movie BMX Bandits from when we were kids?
Oh my gosh, Kylie Minogue was in that, wasn't she?
No, it was Nicole Kidman.
Oh yeah, that's the wrong Aussie annoying chick.
Oh, now stop! Don't break my heart.
I
loved that movie. I was obsessed with it, and I then spent the next 12 months driving around with we made a jump out the back of the house, and we had cards on our tires so that our, the good freestyle
Oh my
bikes
gosh, you
have
did
the special
the
chains.
motorbike sound.
Yeah, we did. All of my little girls push bike, but I had big dreams after that. So Mitch might have just moved up a whole bunch in my admiration levels for him after finding out that he can backflip a BMX.
Yeah,
It's pretty impressive.
And the process to actually sticking that might surprise you.
Yes.
There you go. I'll leave a bit of intrigue there. Anyway, it was a good chat. Love these real tradie stories. Always good to hear from an actual tradesperson or someone who is running a trade business. And this is a great one because Mitch, as I said, has been part of our community for a while. So it was really good to get some, I guess, insights from him on, where he's got inspiration and learning from, and some of the things that he wish he knew when he started out. So, really good chat today.
It is. Enjoy.
Alrighty. So we have another real tradie, although he is a painter, so I don't know if we can call him a real tradie.
Oh, we're going out like that already? Harsh.
How long did you think for that one was?
That just came to me naturally, mate. I just have this talent
yeah.
of making people feel awful on our podcast.
Yeah, well, it's not working, mate.
Mr. Mitch Kelly from Sterling Coating, welcome to the Tradies in Business podcast, mate.
Thank you very much.
Good to have you here, Mitch.
Good to be here.
Mitch, you are in the chair as a real tradie story today. We like doing these episodes, and our listeners like these episodes too, because they get to hear from tradies on the ground doing things and stuff, and sharing, their stories about how they came to be a tradie, how they're doing in business, some of the lessons they've learned. So, pretty keen to hear your story today as well, mate. And to give our listeners a bit of context, as I enunciate my words properly.
What's going on? We're getting all formal here.
I know. Although I'm wearing a T-shirt, so for those that are listening,
it's a V-neck, isn't it, mate?
It is. I'm going for the chest exposure here, Mitch.
Yeah,
and
right.
We haven't done any of the pointing yet, Warwick.
Oh, what's that?
Show off your gun. There you are. See, it's coming.
I don't do that with my left arm because it's really puny.
Haven't you been working out, was?
I've been in ISO, mate.
Yeah. Oh, you can't tell.
Anyway, Mitch has a painting business. I won't refer to you as a painter, mate, because you have a painting business. And I think that's a bit of a distinction that we might talk about today. So, mate, is there anything you'd like to say so I don't just talk for the next 45 minutes?
What do you want to know, was?
Well, I was just going to give our listeners some context. You have been working with us here at Tradies in Business for a while. And so we've been probably privileged to see some of your growth in the business and as a business owner over the time. So I'm pretty keen to chat about some of that stuff and some of those lessons as well, because I think it's hard for a lot of people in trade businesses especially to remember that they're not the only ones going through frustration or confusion or whatever it might be, but also that they don't hear from, I guess, people on the ground who have invested in themselves and their business and how that's worked for them. So I'm not out to make this an infomercial, but I do also want to take the opportunity to just get, I guess, some inside perspective from you, Mitch, on some of the things you've done in your business and how that's worked out for you. So,
yeah.
Before all that, mate, how on earth did you end up in a painting business? Like, did you dream of that when you were a boy? Did you have posters on your wall of famous painters?
I didn't.
That you wanted to be like. Give us your backstory, mate.
Well, I guess back in school sort of times, I loved playing soccer and loved riding BMX. Used to be a freestyle BMX guy and used to do competitions and I used to do some shows, things like that, and was always fairly driven there.
What sort of shows,
one day,
mate? Give us some more dates there.
We used to do some demos. So we go to schools, we go to events, and it was just a BMX show. So they'd turn up, the guys that we were riding for would turn up with a half pipe or a box jump, and we would just pedal at that real hard and do some tricks, do some backflips.
My kids would have loved you. I've
Yeah.
got to make very sure they never meet you, because I have one in particular will end up in the backyard doing backflips just because you said you could do them, and he needs now to learn how to do them.
Yeah.
Warwick even knows who I'm talking about.
That's always the question as soon as you're at a skate park. Can you do a backflip?
Yeah.
Wow, that's full on.
Can you do a backflip?
So back in the day I could. I don't think I could now.
If I were to do a small Chuck Norris here, that level of dedication is obviously now paying off in your business. So we'll get to that later. But that would have taken an awful lot of practice, an awful lot of training, an awful lot of work to get to that point.
Yeah, I guess. I think it was just fun. I was just riding with my friends, and I kind of, with anything I was doing, I always was really competitive, and I'd just try and be the best. So I don't know if that's a great thing, but I guess it pushed me to always try and do the hardest stuff or scariest stuff.
That's pretty cool.
I'm always fascinated about the headspace to get into, to even attempt something like a backflip. Like it's a pretty risky maneuver. Did you do it over a foam pit or anything first, or did you just go straight into it?
Yeah. So a friend of mine had a foam pit in his backyard. Now there's some places that you can go, like indoor skate parks that have those, but back then there wasn't any around. So it was just, wooden ramps, and you're jumping into a pit of foam that had a fence around it, basically.
Holy crap.
And then one day we just went down the skate park and put a mattress down and just said, screw it, we're going to try it.
Wow, were you crapping your pants when you were trying it that first time?
Yeah, it's pretty scary the first time.
Yeah.
It's still scary when, if you haven't done it for a week or whatever, you're always like, but yeah, once you get it out of the way, it's good, and then you can feel a bit more comfortable and try things with it.
The thing of once you've done it once, then you can do it, and then it's just repeating.
Yeah, but then you've got different situations where you're hitting a jump you've never hit before. You don't know how you need to spin or how slow or how fast. So there is always that unknown, and that was the awesome part of doing it. That's the best part about it.
We're not going to make the whole episode about backflips, although it'd be kind of fun. It'd be kind of cool. Did you nail it the first time you tried, or did you?
I think the first time
I
can't remember actually. I was like 15, 16 at the time.
The concussion
really not that
killed
long
all
ago.
those memories off.
Yeah. I can't remember, to be honest. I think the first time I tried it onto the mattress at the skate park, I didn't land it, and I think I got it the second go.
Wow. Yeah, that's not. I used to do a bit of dirt bike riding, and some of the guys that I rode with had been previous, like motocross racers, and they'd done a lot of it as young guys, and I didn't pick up enduro riding until I was in my 30s, and self-taught. So hence I have lots of x-rays in the cupboard from trips to accident and emergency with busted bones. But I'd watch the stuff these guys were doing, and it blows my mind, that level of proficiency that you get from doing it at a young age. Like you, Mitch, doing it as a teenager. It's like you just have this ability to create learning and just to pick things up. And maybe it's a lack of, fear as well. But, my mates would go past me on the back wheel at 70 Ks an hour going through the forest, and I'm crapping my pants because, I feel like I'm hanging it all out, and they're just like, no. And it just always blew me away. And so I guess, hearing about you backflipping a BMX onto a freaking mattress at a skate park, like, what's wrong with you, man? Anyway.
Yeah, it was fun.
So you're freestyle BMX superstar, doing demos at schools and stuff. And then you woke up one morning and went, oh my gosh, I want to be a painter.
Yeah, kind of. No, was thinking about this yesterday, and I remember when I was in school, and you know how you go to like a work experience thing when you're in year 10 or whatever to sort of work out what you want to do. And I went to an architecture firm because I used to love doing graphics, and I had an awesome time at the work experience. And then you sit down with the guidance counselor, and the guidance counselor just said, "Nah, you're not doing it. You don't have the grades for it." And I kind of turned around and said, "But I haven't been trying. Like, all my grades in class are great. I just wasn't doing any of the assignments because I didn't care." And I said, "I've got a goal that I want to achieve now, and that's what I want to do." And she just said no, basically, and wouldn't allow me to go into the classes that I wanted to go into to get to that. So from then on, I basically just wagged. I hardly went to school from then, and I was just down the skate park half the time, yeah, well, that was it. And my mum would say to me, like, I couldn't just leave school. She said that I either had to have a job or go to uni. So one of my mates started working for a painting company, and a couple of my other mates at Road were painters too. So I thought, this is great, sweet, I'll get into this, and I'll keep writing in the meantime. So that's how I got into painting.
That's a real Chuck Norris segue, isn't it? Life segue. Holy moly. How dare anybody tell you that you can't reach for a goal?
Yeah, that's, I was whatever I was at the time, 15, I think, or 16, however old I was.
That's disgusting.
And you don't have the perspective to turn around and be like, oh, well, you're too young at the time to have any idea of how the world works. And you just think, I've got to be in this class at school, otherwise I can't be an architect,
of course.
And so, yeah, that just stopped me doing that.
That's such a shit way for someone to project their own beliefs and limitations onto you.
I can kind of understand, I can understand their point. They need to be guiding people into the correct things. And I guess they don't want people to get in classes that are way too hard for them and discourage them. But at the same time, I guess there's something to be said for drive. And if you're driven enough to do things, I think you can do whatever you want.
Guiding doesn't mean telling someone what they can and can't do. Guiding means leading you to your own conclusion, which is, yeah, I'm blown away. Actually, I'm really upset at that. And it's not the first time I've heard something like that. I find that, and Warwick and I have had these conversations before, schooling in particular can be very institutionalized, and we don't have the ability to explore what works for us. And you finally found what you think could have been your passion, and somebody's jumped on top of that. That's inexcusable.
Yeah.
But fortunate to
I'm
your
glad
painting.
that it didn't happen.
Yeah.
I'm really glad. Because,
I hate all the architects out there.
Well, actually saying that, I probably would have had an architecture business, I guess, because once I started working, I was working for one guy on the Gold Coast. I've been on the Gold Coast my whole life. And then I moved, they moved their business to mainly Brisbane. So I got another job with a different company doing all tier 1 work. So we were working on high rises and doing all big jobs. So that was an awesome experience as well. So I got to be get more experience and exposure to all different levels of work.
So not allowed to be an architect, and you become a painter. What was the transition into business owner like for you?
My dad always gave me, he gave me a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, or I think Rich Kid, Poor Kid was the first one I had. Okay. And I read that, and ever since then, I've just been crazy for business stuff, 4-hour work week. I think I had the audio, read that like 50 times or something, probably 10 times. And yeah, I've just been obsessed ever since, really. And that led me into, okay, I want to start my own business. I wasn't sure that it was going to be painting. And I decided that I was unsure at the time if just business books was enough. So I actually enrolled in university I enrolled to do business at uni. And the same time that I started that, I started my painting business. And after 6 months, I stopped the uni because I didn't like it.
I did a business degree and it sucked.
Yeah.
My major
I
was
wasn't
in
getting much
accounting,
out
which
of
is
it.
even worse.
Boring.
Yeah, I went into it, and I think I was doing economics, employment relations, and a couple of other things. And
Riveting
I
stuff.
was like, what am I doing? Yeah, I was like 20 something at the time, and I was around a bunch of just school leavers, and I was like, all right, sweet, there's going to be parties every weekend and learning about business. And it was none of those. It was none of them. None of them have any money, so they're not partying every weekend. And and it wasn't really about business. It was about working in a business, which I feel like I had the perspective to know. And so that's why I stopped on that.
Interesting realization.
And it's interesting perspective too. Sorry, Coxie.
You're right.
You say, it wasn't about business. It was about working in a business. And I see this idea floating around, particularly in the trades, and we get these questions asked in our groups, and you probably see them in our various platforms, mate, the trade desk and all that sort of stuff that you're hanging out in these days, where people think that if they go to a Cert 4 in business, that they're going to learn how to run a business. And I'm a business graduate, and I've run businesses, and I used to be a qualified financial planner and all sorts of stuff. And the stuff you learn in those programs, while they're key parts of running a business, they actually teach you how to run a business, how to be a business owner. What would you say has been the difference for you, mate, sitting here now as a business owner versus some of the stuff that you've learned along the way and even some of the books you've read?
Yeah, I think exactly what you said there is, in terms of being something. So in terms of how you emotionally respond to things can be such a driving factor in how things turn out. Like I had a heap of knowledge. I'd read heaps of books. I'd listened to heaps of podcasts. I'd done business programs, and getting the context around how that all works in the real world is the power. That's what really turned it for me in business. Having all the tactics isn't what works. It's the underlying strategies. So that's what would help me.
It's a little bit like learning to play a sport, I suppose. You can read a book that will teach you how to play a sport, but unless you're coached through that process, you're taught through that process practically on the ground. This is how you catch a ball. This is how you kick the ball. This is how you tackle. You can't actually perform that, or you could have a crack at performing it, but you're unlikely to do so successfully. It says the same to what you're talking about there. We all need some assistance to learn how to play a sport, run a business, ride our BMX bike, and do backflips into the skate bowl. But we need help
big
to get there. Yeah. So it's Mitch was there. Like, you're absolutely right. You've read this. You had the knowledge. You went to uni. You understood that wasn't necessarily practical. How did you turn the knowledge that you have into the practicality of running a business rather than, I guess, applying some of that knowledge without really understanding what direction it's heading in?
I guess this is where working one-on-one with has really helped. For me. As I said, it's the context around those things and how they play out in the real world. Just actioning things, I feel, is really, exactly what you're talking about. You can think about doing a backflip as much as you like, but as soon as you do it, that's when you really know. And implementing things, I guess, was a main thing for me. I would overthink a lot, and I would think things out to the nth degree, but actually actioning them and doing that on a consistent basis so that we can get an idea and test and measure those actions. That's where it really is started to turn.
It's a fascinating parallel, and I'll keep harking back to the BMX thing because it is such a good personal example, I guess, for you, Mitch, and also, Coxie and I know you reasonably well as a fairly long-term member of our community, mate. How long have you been listening to the podcast, by the way?
I don't even know. It's got to be like 4 or 5 years, I'd say.
Yeah, probably from the early days. So I'm sorry about those episodes, mate.
Yeah.
Actually,
it's been ages.
Maybe
I think
I
I've
should
listened
be
to
sorry about
everyone.
the recent
I
ones.
think I went back and listened to all of them. So
I always get scared when someone gets in touch with us and says, "Oh, I've listened to every single episode." It's like, you mean even the original ones back at episode like 001 and that when it was called something else? They're like, yeah, I've listened to them all. I'm like, oh crap. But going back to the whole action, implementing things, as you say, you've read a lot of books, and Coxie and I know that you're a bit of a deep thinker, and I love some of our conversations that we have with you. And like the BMX, if you never actually push off and go down the damn ramp and up the other side and have a crack, you're just not going to get better at backflips. You're never going to land the perfect backflip if you don't have a go. Everybody seems to know that, particularly when it comes to sport or cooking or whatever the heck it is. But then we get into business and there's this warped idea that if I just go do another program where they teach me a bunch of theory, I'll get it all right for when I put it into place. It's like, no, learn the basics, get some frameworks, and then just go do it. And I obviously believe as a mentor and a coach and a teacher that the best thing to do is get someone experienced standing there when you push off down the ramp so that when you screw it up, they can give you instant feedback and say, awesome effort. This is where that went wrong for you. Try it this way next time. But in business, people seem to go, they read all the books, they do all the programs, and then they either don't implement it or they have a go. They've got no one giving them feedback. It doesn't work. And they go, well, that was a waste of time.
Yeah. It's the same as like sport. You can have a coach that is watching the whole game and they're physically seeing how you're moving. Same thing with riding bikes or whatever. You can see how someone's moving, but they can't normally tell because they're in the moment. So same thing with business. You might think that you're going fine and everything's working, or you're pulling your hair out going, I don't know why this isn't working. And having someone outside looking in can just have that different perspective, and especially when they have so much business experience behind them and coaching experience.
I want to talk about the lack of action because it's something we see all the time. And we probably were even complaining about this earlier today, in that we have, as you know, the trade desk is free for the first month. We invite people to come in and have a look at what they can do. And we have lots of people sign up, lots of people stay. And some people come and they stay for the month and then they bugger off, which is fine. That's cool. That's no problem for us. But what's happened is they haven't actioned any of those pieces of change that they need to implement to ensure they get a result. So rather than reflect on that experience and think, okay, it's my lack of action that's the problem, it's, well, I learnt the lesson and it's not working. So there's a real, I think there's an awesome amount of accountability that goes on within these kind of groups that helps find the time. You know, if you're accountable to somebody, you will make the time to action that step that you spoke about a week ago or a fortnight ago or a month ago with your coach or your mentor, rather than always being too busy, because we're not accountable to ourselves. We don't hold ourselves in that high enough regard. We can make excuses to ourselves and allowances to ourselves. But if we have somebody else writing us and saying, well, how did you go with that this week, Mitch? Did you get on top of XYZ that we spoke about last week or last month? And it's, pretty quick and easy, yes or no. Well, if you didn't, why not? Let's have a look at why not. Accountability is a huge part of actually getting something done, and a skill, I suppose.
I think the problem is once you've consumed the content, and that is the feeling of completion. That's the feeling of, I've done it now because I know it. And if you haven't actioned it, I heard a great saying once, and it was when someone says to you, "Yeah, I know. Have you done it? If you haven't done it, you don't know."
Mm.
So,
Yep.
that's where really everything happens is when you implement. So you're better off reading the introduction to a book and implementing than reading the whole thing through and doing nothing.
Incredibly true.
How many books have you read, Mitch? And
I don't know.
done anything?
A lot. I've done a lot. That's why
Uh,
I've cut back on pretty much everything. I don't really consume a whole lot at the moment because I'm just busy implementing stuff. So
was there
that's where I'm at.
I wanted to maybe backtrack a little bit, but did you get to a point in your business where you just thought, okay, I'm reading all these books, I'm learning all these things, and I don't seem to be getting to where I want to get to? Was there a point where that became clear for you?
Yeah, I think that's what I said before. Before I started working one-on-one with you, that's when it was really clear. I was like, I'm doing all the things that I think I should be doing, but it's not working. So that's when I started looking at going, who knows this stuff? Who's successful in this? Who can I find that I can learn from? And I didn't really have anyone that had their own business. I don't have, especially or in trades, because, a lot of my friends are all, my age, obviously, they're 28. So a few of them have businesses now, but when I started, pretty much none did. So that's when I reached out to you guys.
I want to float something by you, Mitch, and tell me whether this was true for you or not. As business owners, actually as anybody, full stop, but particularly as business owners, when we're talking about our business and feeling about our business, we have an emotional attachment. And like anything that we have an emotional attachment to, sometimes it's hard to see the wood for the trees. We're so busy being bogged down in the stuff, we can't actually see what's going wrong. I wonder whether that was true for you. So therefore that outsider's point of view or perspective helped you gain clarity about some of those changes that needed to be made.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was, for me, I think a lot of it was around my mindset and how I was approaching things and how I was thinking about things and how I was processing things. And, I was writing off complete areas that we could have been targeting because of beliefs that I had that just weren't right. They just weren't true. So working through those things has helped heaps, and that's why we're starting to get some great results.
So I was going to let Coxie jump in again, but I'll do it anyway. So what has been some of the toughest changes you've made, Mitch?
Toughest changes?
Either personally, in that we've talked a bit about that difference between business and being a business owner. Like, has there been some?
For me, I've always wanted to be a business owner. I've always wanted to build an asset. I never started a business to, I guess, have a lifestyle business, which quickly turns into a no lifestyle business because you get too busy. I lost my train of thought now. I never wanted to have what was the question?
I'm just curious, because a lot of people go through change in growing their business, improving their business, and the change happens personally, as we're alluding to here. We're talking a lot about that sort of headspace.
Yeah.
We often see people who come up against some really resistant aspects of themselves or the way they do things, and changing those can be really quite difficult and confronting for some people. So I just wondered if you'd sort of come up against some things within yourself in making changes, from reading all those books to actually doing stuff. Like, did you find any of that difficult at all?
Oh, for sure. And you don't really know that you're not, it's hard to see it when you're in the moment and when you don't have any perspective on it. And it's hard to see to see that you've got those things going on in your head that just aren't quite right, having those ideas of, we can't work with those people, they're not going to pay enough, or they're not going to work with us enough, or it's going to be an issue with this, but just writing things off. But instead of changing that mindset around how can we work with them, how can we, work together in a way that's beneficial for both parties. So I guess my perspective, my mindset change was mainly around that.
I wonder, Mitch, and I'm probably leading you into something I already know the answer to, or we've discussed at one point or another, but how much of being a business owner is about mindset?
All of it. Well, you think about it, if you're in a negative headspace, because you're getting hit with stuff all day, people around you might not realize it, but you're getting hit with stuff all day. And if you have that one thing early in the morning, that's that bit of negative news, or job's not ready, it's like, oh, I've got to move the guys around, or something is just not going your way, or you don't get a job, or something happens. And if you switch into like retreat mode and just sitting around and thinking about it all day, and that is 100% happened to me a lot. If I didn't get a job, I was like, oh, why didn't I get that one specific job? I should have got it. I should be able to get 100% hit rate. It's like, it's never going to happen. You need to find the right people, your right customers that are going to value the things that you're building your business out for. And once that started to happen, I started to recognize those things. That's when, things just started to flow easier, and the days get easier, and keeping that positive mindset, and then continually actioning all day instead of sitting around, and just overthinking stuff. Yeah.
I love overthinking stuff.
Yeah.
It's the worst.
I think it's why I can call other people on that behavior, because I do it so much myself.
I don't know too many people that don't, particularly business owners. I think that's probably one of the biggest characteristics of business owners. They tend to be overthinkers, but overthinking is rarely a productive way to spend your time. 9 times out of 10, it's only going to create a disaster thinking, and you get stuck in that. So I guess my next question would be, in those times where you find yourself in that negative mindset, how have you managed to teach yourself to bring yourself out of that, or do you look for external help with that?
I would say, I do have external help with that as well. When I've been working with you guys, that's been super helpful. And even just reaching out to other people I'm knowing in the industry, having a chat to them and just saying, hey, have you got that issue in your business? How are you dealing with this? And it might be from people that have more experience, or a bigger business, or even smaller businesses. It doesn't matter. They might have had those same experiences and can give you, oh, look, this is what's worked for us. We had that exact same problem.
It's amazing, and we talk about this all the time. Tradies tend to be not of the sharing type. They're incredibly generous, but they won't.
I think it's changing.
I do think it's changing.
I think it's changing a lot. You'd walk into the paint shop and people don't want to talk to each other, and I try and do the opposite. I try and say hello to everyone, but it's like that. People don't want to talk. They think, oh, this guy's going to steal my work or something.
Yes.
Like it's just not. I have that many people in the paint industry that I know, and I don't even know if I've ever come up against them quoting. You just never know.
No.
And it doesn't matter. It honestly does not matter at all. We share work around. Like I think that's a massive false thing in the industry. Like it just doesn't work like that. There's so much work. There's such a big pool out there, and you can create more as well with how you market it.
Of course you can. Talking like a true tradies and business member. Look, I think it's really important though to share our business knowledge, or be brave enough to put your hand up and ask questions. And it's something we see obviously a lot, particularly in the Trade Desk group, but within all of our groups, we see a lot of sharing and a lot of requests for sharing of knowledge so that other people can grow and learn along their own journey. And I find, like you're saying, it is changing slowly but surely, particularly in the areas that we're playing in. It is beginning to be encouraged rather than being fearful. People are saying, well, this is how I found success in that area, or I tried this and it was terrible. Please don't try this. Do it a different way.
And believe them. believe people when they say it. They're not holding back.
No.
They're not just saying, oh, they're not giving you false advice, hoping that you do it and it screws your business up. I've never had anyone do that. And every bit of advice that I see that's good advice from other good business owners, it's always 100% what they would do. So not listening and I guess I'll try and find the info somewhere else. Like, no, that's the truth. Implement it.
Mitch, I wanted to ask if there were, we've talked a bit about knowledge and how that's not enough. Are there some things you wish you knew when you started out in business?
Yeah, I think it's a lot less formal. I think it's a lot less formal than what you think. And it doesn't have to be as formal as what it's made out to be. That's not to say that you shouldn't have good formalities in place. But I think I went into it thinking that it was all very serious and everyone had to talk very serious and it was all very shut off. And like we were just saying, no one shares and no one, but it's not. It's just everyone, it's just all humans. It's just all friends, and that's where we build our best relationships, because we build friendships with our customers. Doesn't matter who or what they are, whether they're homeowners, real estates or builders or whoever. And that's what we aim to build.
Cool, mate.
Love it.
Not what I was expecting.
No.
We're going to say something about, I wish I'd done a cash flow forecast, but it's like, nope, that's not what it is.
Well, all those things too,
Yeah.
all those things are good too. But yeah.
The other thing I wanted to ask Mitch is,
don't ask me the one question.
Well, no,
It's coming. You know it's coming.
I haven't thought about that either.
Well, yeah, you better start thinking, mate, because it's coming. No, I actually was curious because I know you are a thinker and you've done a fair bit of education around business and you've read lots of books. What frustrates you about the industry, not just painting, but what frustrates you about the trades? And I know we've had conversations with you sort of, observing what other people are doing that impacts all of us, in the industries.
Are you talking about educators or are you talking about trades, businesses?
You can let loose on anybody, mate.
Well, there's all the crap that's on Instagram where there's a guy filming himself at the beach going, hey, we can build you an online business and you sit at the beach all day and do nothing and just send me $2,000. Do not do that. That is just the biggest load. Like,
I've deleted that video of mine.
Yeah, good. All that stuff, make $1 million in a day.
So you mean that's not real?
Just build a quality business. Exactly. It's not real. Everyone that I've come across that's built something substantial has built a business. And you don't build a business by ripping people off or doing the wrong thing. You just can't do it. The best businesses, the biggest businesses are all built because they work so well with everyone and everyone wants to work with them. And I guess trade businesses, I don't know, running them properly would be nice.
What does that
Competing
mean,
with,
mate? What does that mean?
I guess this is another thing why it's always great to share everything with the competition, because you what's the saying? A rising tide rises all ships, or whatever it is.
Yep.
It's so true. Like it's great to be competing in a market where there's a heap of great businesses, especially in your trade, especially people targeting your target market, because when the customer looks around, they get their 15 quotes or whatever they want to do, and they look at it all and go, oh, look, there's all these great businesses around, and you're comparing amongst great businesses instead of, I guess, the opposite, where you have great businesses, I guess, charging high or perceivably high, and people not doing the right things and going low, which is never great for the customer. At the end of the day, they don't get a great product or service.
Certainly is a frustrating part of the industry, and we talk about it all the time. These we call them cowboys. I'm sure there's plenty of other names for them.
Cowgirls.
Not doing great business.
Chucking a truck.
Yeah.
Chucking a truck.
They then impact the rest of the trades, right? So as you say, how awesome would it be if tradies were thought of, or trades businesses especially were thought of to be great businesses, rather than the age-old adage that they're all out there to rip you off and they're going to do a crappy job and they'll have to come back and then they won't come back.
Exactly.
You know, each time you elevate another business owner who then strives a little harder to do something a bit different, it's a positive for everybody.
How many whoever, homeowners or whoever, don't go ahead with work because they're too afraid to get trades in their house because of all the bad stories they hear? And that's honestly where we do so well. You know, we educate them and build that trust in them through the whole process of what we do.
There's another great saying about tides, is that you don't find out who's been swimming naked until the tide goes out.
Yeah, like now.
And that's what I wanted to ask you about, Mitch. Like, you know, the Rona is well and truly showing us who was swimming naked. In terms of how they've been running their businesses. And, you know, sadly, in some respects, there have already been capitulations, you know, businesses that have folded, and we're looking at a massive business in Australia that's, you know, gone into voluntary administration in the airlines. What's your take on the Rona, mate, and what's it meant for you? You know, how's it impacted you, and what do you think the future looks like post-Rona?
I think we're in a very lucky situation being trade business owners. We have had no issues, basically. You know, we've had issues around making sure that we're doing the right thing when going into people's homes and doing training around that. But in terms of how much work's been coming in, we haven't seen any drop off. We're busier than we've ever been, and that's due to 6 to 12 months of pushing really hard, marketing hard, building lots of relationships, and doing all that. But for us, we're not really affected. And, you know, some people might, you know, I've heard of trades that they do only they were only doing maintenance for a high rise or something, and all their work's gone because there's no one in the high rises. That sucks. But pivot. Where can you go? Where can you find other work? You know, there's other things opening up. You know, all these cleaners going around doing all these extra cleans. Trades, people walking around their house seeing all the stuff that they need fixed, and they get trades out and get quotes on it. They might not be going ahead right now, but they're sure as hell getting quotes. So, yeah, I think it's going to be fine for us anyway.
I just really want to make the point that we're listening to a painter. So that, you know, we all assume that's the one trade that is the throwaway trade, right? It's the one thing that everybody thinks they can do themselves. And we're talking to a painter here who is busier than he's ever been in the midst of this pandemic. Does that not say a lot about what you've been doing in your business for the past 6, 12 months, longer even? I
think, you know, we are busy with builders as well, like saying that, but some of it's still in residential homes where people are renovations and stuff like that. But, you know, we probably had a drop off for a little while with homeowners, but we had real estate stuff, and that real estate stuff offset that. And we're starting to see homeowners come back through again now already. So, yeah, it's all good.
It's building a robust business, and you hit the nail on the head, mate. I can't think of a really cheesy painting saying, but you talked about the 6 to 12 months of work that you've done on your business, on creating a business leading up to this, so that you're actually positioned to not just get through it or you know, hang on by your fingernails, as I see a lot of people talking about, but actually just keep improving your business through all of this, and be able to be in that headspace of, okay, well, where can we pivot, as you say?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, what else can we chase?
Yeah, where's the opportunities? What's busier than ever? You know, where are all the people that are actually demanding higher than ever? You know, there might be a drop off in some sections, but there's other sections that are going up.
Yes, it's the great clean out of 2020. Cool. So are you ready, mate? You ready for the question?
Do you want some thinking music?
I always love to see what pops out when I hit people with this one, because it's not that bad a question, I don't think. But anyway, you know yourself and you know your business, mate. So 1,000 tradies, Mitch, 1,000 tradies in a room.
Yeah.
You're on stage up the front. Actually, I shouldn't paint that picture. I'll freak you out.
No, now he's nervous. That was unfair.
1,000 tradies in a room, mate, and you're on a Zoom call, because that's how we do it these days.
Yeah.
What's one piece of advice or one lesson of your own, I suppose, that you'd like to share with them, mate?
I think I'll go back to where I was before and talking about, if you don't win a job and your mindset sucks after that. I think picking yourself up, pick up the phone, getting back after it straight away, and don't being bogged down in the losses, and just chase after another win.
I like it, Mitch. You've nailed it. All that pressure, and it wasn't that hard at all, was it? Typical Warwick to put you under the spotlight.
If you fail a backflip in the foam pit and you never get out of the foam pit, you're not going to get any better at it.
That's it.
That's right.
Get on the bike.
Get on a mattress instead.
Get back on your bike. There's your pun.
On your bike, son. On your bike. Mate, awesome to chat to you. We've been wanting to get you on the show for a little while, so thanks for making the time. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for all the mentions. If you've ever listened to a podcast and they've mentioned an elusive person, it was probably talking about me.
Generally, Mitch.
Generally, Mitch. We've been doing some work with this guy who's been struggling with this. And Mitch is sitting there going, "Damn it, they're using me as an example again."
How do you feel about that when we do it, Mitch? Do you sit there and you think, I can't believe you're calling me out on this again?
No, that's fine. Yeah.
Good.
We'll start naming you from now on.
Yeah.
Mitch has done, I have to say, Mitch has got a fantastic website and has done a lot of work around sales process and educating clients, and like one of the best in the business that we've seen. So, mate, where can people go to steal all your stuff?
sterlingcoating.com.au. Sterling is Sterling.
sterlingcoating.com.au. Go and pretend to be a customer, and you'll see how good Mitch's stuff is. But he's a gun in terms of that whole front end experience with clients. So, mate, great to have you on the show.
And if anyone's struggling with anything, hit us up in the group, and happy to jump in and answer any questions.
Yeah. So
awesome,
for anyone who has jumped on the free month of the Trade Desk, Mitch is in there. You might even get him to answer one of your questions if you try and tag him. But Mitch is in the groups, and he's a super abundant guy, and I know he's had some fantastic experience to help any of you who are stuck or looking for some feedback from someone on the ground. So, mate, thanks again. It's been great having you on the show.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mitch. I am disappointed that your puppy didn't join us, though. I was really excited this morning. When I saw on the calendar we're interviewing Mitch today, I'm thinking, yes, I'm going to see the puppy today.
Not
today, but thank you for being here.
You'll have to send us a photo, mate, so we can share it with the listeners now.
All right. Will do.
Thanks, Mitch.
See ya.
You've been listening to the Tradies in Business podcast with Warwick Bidwell and Nicole Cox. Find out more about today's guest, tools for your trade business, and other cool stuff at tradiesinbusiness.com.au.